Aurora squad. That's 1-0 for the Falcons.
Oh man, if we have a series down to this, you know, elimination, this is exactly how you want to start it. The panel, Leo, Brigida, I know you guys have a lot to say. Leo, Brigida, I know you guys have a lot to say about this. Let us know what you think about game one.
It was such a great game to start the series. It took 18 minutes before Falcons, before they were able to end it. And Kyle TZ, my goodness, he had so many highlights on that, Lucas.
He was rabid. He was looking for someone to receive all this pent-up frustration from that reverse sweep last night, and Rora was in the way. That's exactly what this was. It was a contest of, again, I put my red mark, violence. It was just a match where if you weren't ready to fight for what you wanted to get, that first point on the board, then don't even try. That's what Falcons did here.
And that's exactly why you see him as your game MVP. Kyle TZ on this Lucas, waiting for the perfect time, always using the Unleash the Beast, even during one moment where we thought it was a little too early, but you know that's just how aggressive he wants to play into this lineup of Aurora. That's just how much he wants to answer back to all the shortcuts, to all the team fights they tried starting, and it was the downfall of this entire game for Aurora when he was just always able to gain access to Dom and Kai.
Yeah, there was, how do you say, no room for half measures in Falcons' lineup. You see the draft that they had, we'll have an in-detail dynamic of that draft, but off of Kyle TZ alone, let's just take him for example. This hero, Lucas, if you think twice about using Unleash the Beast, if you think twice about catching up on your resolve, throwing out your Shockwave Blast, you will get punished hard. And even in those early moments, you saw how Lucas, how Kyle TZ was like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw out this Shockwave Blast, why not? I'm retreating anyways. Bow! Still drew first blood.
Yeah, and you feel how much he wanted to maximize that killing spree too. Like, he was just in for the fights. And we mentioned before heading into this entire series that both of these teams are very objective-centric. They even avoid fights if needed to, especially in the early stages. But this is the complete opposite of what we expected from them. They literally had to change something so they could take the advantage.
Yeah, no, Falcons were building up to this very moment. Falcons, all throughout Season 15, have been racking up kills, racking up assists, and they were ready to play this way. That sequence right there, I don't know exactly whose shortcut it was, whether it was through a wide walk by Renegade and then jumped in, that everyone else followed through, or if it was Few who stole a shortcut, one or the other, but that led to a moment wherein if you weren't ready for it and you jumped in and you fought, you get punished hard. This was the turning point, I'd say.
Yeah. I don't even know if Falcons were just really ready for that moment or they forced themselves to be ready because they just wanted to fight back so bad, and in the long run it was so rewarding since they were able to get some trades, they were able to get so many more from Aurora that from that very point onwards, even though, yes, there were moments where even Demon Kite felt like he could have done something, he could have gotten the game for Aurora, it didn't matter for Team Falcons. Like, they were able to read into so much of Aurora's strategies with this lineup, with the chip, and now they're able to secure the first game of the series.
First on the board, Falcons in the best of 5. 15-15. See, eventually it equaled out. There was a good chunk of time where it was Aurora who had more kills. Why was that? Number one is because they had more range. Look at that. You have the Kimmy, you have the Farsa, and then you have the Fanny who can, you know, go in and go out as much, and then stoppers in the Gatot and the Chip who can also help retreat or set up other ganks elsewhere. All this while, Falcons, look at that lineup. It's all in. Mid-range at best. Their mage, Few, on the Valentina, and then you have Super Marco, who is the payoff to shocking your opponents into a fight that they cannot finish, that they cannot go through. That's the reason why I think towards that late game, 2 minutes left into the game, so around 15, 16 minutes on the clock, Super Marco said, guys, I'm ready.
Yeah, it was too all in that it was probably a little too overwhelming for Aurora. how could they position themselves from a safe distance so they could throw out the right skill, so they could deal out the right damage. But Team Falcons, they made it work so well. Like every single one you mentioned, even Flat TZ, I feel like we should also be highlighting in this game because I thought it was a damage Benedetta.
I did too.
It was a petrify. But it felt like, oh, he knew what had to be done. So it's more of a utility kind of way in terms of making use of the Benedetta just to close in a lot more faster on your targets, just to deal that petrify, I guess. So it just was another way of making things a lot easier for that mid-range lineup of Team Falcons.
Yep, force out ults, eat ults with the eye for an eye, and then compromise those ranged fighters. Fights they have no business getting into. Looking at the gold graph here, Aurora on blue. They chose this side, by the way. Falcons on red. Aurora in the lead, and then, oops. See what I tell you about the 16.5-minute mark? That's where it all went wrong. Falcons started fighting, Aurora started fighting when they had no business doing so. Yes, they had a chip. Yes, they had the superior range. But at about 16:30, 16:40, Falcons knew they had Auroras because Aurora was finally falling for the trap. See, look. Starting at about the 10-minute mark, Falcons' progress kind of halted. Look at Aurora. Their spikes, 5 minutes, 7, 8, 8, 10, 11, 14, 17. This is all good. This is all fine. But Falcons stopped for like a good 8 minutes, and then they said, there's nothing to gain from the map. What do we do? And then, at that last moment, Aurora, they played a Hail Mary. They said Demon Kite, all right, we'll go fight here. You will hold them down. We will let you push mid. That's the one last play Aurora was able to do on the map. That was a sign of desperation. About a minute later, 18:41, 17:14 here, game's done. I don't know exactly what kind of comms went down with Aurora then, but going into the series, if they want to tie this or even stop Falcons from getting the match point, they have to be clear. They have to understand, again, a concept introduced prior in Onyx versus Liquid, who is the beatdown. Understand who's the aggressor, understand who should be putting their foot down and saying, we want to fight. Do you wanna? And understanding when to say no. If you remember, that last team fight looked very similar to what happened last between Onyx and TLPH Game 2, where Liquid pulled the trigger they shouldn't have. Understanding that if you watch the highlights, we watch the game, go back. Aurora started picking fights that was a little too close for comfort. Let's put it into terms. All you fight fans, MMAs, boxing, BJJ. Falcons? Falcons are BJJ guys. They want to take you down. They want the fight to happen, grappling. They want to put you in a submission hold. Aurora, they're boxers. Aurora needs to fight from range. Pop, pop, pop. Big wingspan, literally, with the Farsa. But what they started to do was, all right, maybe we can fight on the ground. We feel like Falcons are already gassed out. They're already showing signs of desperation. No, that's just Falcons wanting to fight even more. And then you got caught in an armbar. You tapped out. That's what happened here, game number 1. So let's look at what the items were so far. Aurora, look at Demon Kite. Demon Kite had it good. Demon Kite built a Blade of Heptases, Malefic Roar, War Axe, and then look, a Thing of Beauty. Mwah. Anti-Kiras. What does that block out? Blocks a Kyle TZ, blocks a Flat TZ, blocks out some skills from Super Marco. You get hit by a Spear of Misery, boop. You're a little more survivable, you can run away. And then on the other side, look at Flat TZ, full tank build. You can go back, scrub back away, understand why he took the most damage. Now let's see what the draft recap was like. Again, I love the dynamics of this draft by Falcons. At best, mid-range engagements. At best, you can steal some key ults to make up for the lack of range that Valentina pick in the 4th pick. R4 is where this came in, and then that clutch Benedetta. The Benedetta, it's an acquired taste. The only reason why we really see it often is because Flaptizi, his pockets go deep. He was playing this back in 2021. So it's been about 4 or 5 years that he's been a Benedetta main. On the other hand, Aurora, they're playing 2025 meta. This is a reworked Kimmy. This is Fanny, who's still pretty broken. And this is one of US most reliable heroes. So Aurora, they had it good. They were winning for what? 60, 70% of the game. It's just maybe somewhere, somehow, all the fights got to them, and all the fights kind of muddied their vision and said, maybe we can take this. Okay, we couldn't.
Yeah, that was already considering that they were sort of made it into the plans of Team Falcons in the draft. Like, they were able to play it relatively well. They were able to get the lead for a huge majority of the game, even when Falcons were already up ahead, knowing that they will be picking up the Fanny, knowing that this will be the trend in the draft, letting go of the Jushin even. So this is everything probably telegraphed by Team Falcons, and they struggled to get it early on, but were able to find a way around it either way. So there just needs a little bit more polishing, I guess, some revisiting for Aurora, because they really had it. Like, I felt like there were just some decisions which led them to this point, but that's really what it is. Like, even the smallest decisions sometimes just drastically change the outcome of the game.
Silver lining for this, if you're Coach Dexstar, Coach Master the Basics, look back at that draft, there was nothing fundamentally wrong with it. They were doing well for a good 10, 12 minutes of that game. So going into game 2, don't let your fundamentals slip. I think it's more in-game executions. Take the time to remind your players, all right, watch out for this, watch out for that. Don't fall for your opponent's traps. Know what the strength of your lineup is, and I guess manage those Hail Mary plays.
Yeah, because we saw it. Like, the way they were even able to like maintain it all the way to the first turtle, even when Falcons were just aggressive looking for fights, but still they were the ones to win the first objective, and it just went downhill from that point. So there's a lot to address, but before we head into the next game, let's throw it over to our host for a Smart Access segment.
Maraming salamat sa ating panelists. We are still here at the Champions Arena. Odin, 1-0 na lamang ang Team Falcons after that victory in game number 1. Pero sigurado naman ako na hindi pa dito matatapos at meron pa nga tayong mga kapanayam.
And your right hands, dahil dito ay makakasama natin ang walang iba kundi si Benting.
Benting, sadya ka ba? Grabe. Full attendance. Ayan, hello din sa lahat ng mga nandyan mismo sa MPL playgrounds natin sa baba. For everybody's information, pwede kayong pumunta dyan kung sakali na you wanna join in on the fun. Kamusta ba, Bentings? Again, nakita na natin kanina, first series nanalo ang Onyx Philippines at sila na yung isa sa ating grand finalists and MSC representatives. Nagbago ba yung prediction mo? What do you think? Sino yung susunod sa kanila to meet up?
Aurora daw, mukhang meron din mga fans doon sa MPL Playground. Pero Bentings, matanong ko lang, what do you think of the game so far? Kasi yung dalawang araw natin, puro hanggang best of 5 sinasagat nila. Pero ngayon, nag-iba. 3-0 kanina, and right now, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, solid observation coming in from Bentings. I do think na kung meron mong mga pocket picks, no, din dito lalabas talaga yun sa playoffs.
And I think alam din ni Bentings yan dahil meron siya mga Ben tips, right?
Oo nga.
Ben tips? Ano bang Ben tips mo? Baka meron pang hero na pwedeng lumabas ngayong playoffs.
Meron bang hindi pa namin na-discover? Bentings, maraming salamat. I'm sure na perfect attendance ka because you're gonna be here all throughout. Hopefully, we'll see you once again sa mga susunod nating interviews. Pero bye-bye muna dyan sa MPL Playgrounds. Alright? Enjoy kayo dyan, guys. Maraming salamat kay Bentings and all of the other MPL fans na nandoon sa ating MPL Playgrounds. But now, it's time to throw it back to our panel.
Thank you so much, Hans and Odin. I was waiting for the Ben tips too, you know, but he probably needed some time to think. I mean, a lot of us have been so surprised with how the playoffs meta has established itself in the past few days.
Yeah, it is free though. If you want more Ben tips, just follow him on social media. Just scroll and see what else you don't know. I actually learned a few things from Ben things myself.
That's true. Especially when there are newly released heroes, especially when there are some changes in terms of like the battlefield adjustments and all that. He's the guy who just teaches you the smallest things that are very useful in game. But by the way, we're looking at the Clearhead super fan of the day. I wonder if, okay. I wonder if he's the one who's gonna be winning.
It looks like it's him.
Oh,
Look at that thick head of hair. Not a shred of dandruff on him.
Not a shred. It's too shiny. It looks so soft. And he's been wearing the Team Falcons cap. That baseball cap I've been seeing on a lot of fans too, but it still looks like this.
I have one of those.
You have?
Oh, you're talking about the cap? I thought you were talking about bottles of Clear Men. I have both.
Oh man, but did you guys know that men tend to get 5 times more dandruff versus women's scalp? Use Clear Men with ×3 triple anti-dandruff power for 100% protection.
Hey, supercharge your scalp with Clear. I started growing my hair again, this year. And I made sure that I had the perfect companion to make sure that this doesn't get all messy.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
What, ×5 more likely? No, how about ×0? Look at this.
Nothing.
Thanks, Clear.
You guys should check it out. And if you do want to have your hand on one of those, you might want to join us here because all you have to do is show your shiny and your your healthy hair, and then you might be the Clear super fan Clear head of the day because it's like quite lengthy. But those are just some of the giveaways that we actually give out to all of our viewers here. Earlier we had the Smart Power pose. Now it's the Clear head super fan of the day. So there are many more in store for you. We still have 2 days in the playoffs.
Update on the draft. Team Falcons choose the blue. Again, that is still the more reliable side to be on when you're drafting. And looking at the draft from game 1, there had to be some shenanigans. There had to be tricks.
Yep.
But this time, from blue, I think they should stick to what works and then just bait out certain responses from AURORA.
There's time for them to be a little more creative in the latter parts of the draft. But now that they're in blue side, yes, we might be expecting that. And we are calling in Renmar once again to join us for the draft in game number 2. I didn't say the slick thing.
No, it's fine. Again, it's totally fine. Hello, Leo and Brigida. All right, so let's check where we are at the draft. Fanny Louie getting taken away. Respect. And they go ahead and take away the Moskov and Chip. Now, if they are going to be taking away the Moskov, that means they're going to give Rora the option of picking either the Granger or the Harith early on in the draft, so that Falcons would get one of the other. I feel like that's what the ban is committed for.
All right. The fact that the last draft was very blue-sided. Again, we all gasped when Fanny came through, and then the Chip in the blue 2 and 3 came out as well. Game 2 now shows us that Falcons is testing Aurora. Do you get that vibe too? Slick think that maybe it's Coach Trev's turn to say, hey, What else you got in the tank? Master the basics.
Yeah, it feels like it. Considering that, look, Moskov, Harith, ban commitment onto Domikite's best heroes, but then at the same time, Domikite's best hero can still come in the first 2 picks on the red side. The Granger's still wide open. Unless that means Falcons telling Aurora, hey, we're gonna... Unless that means Falcons telling Aurora, hey, we're gonna first pick Joy.
Oh, that can be true. But like, will Domikite be likely to reveal some of the more unique gold laners we've been seeing though?
I don't know if I want that, but what I also do not want to see is a sudden shift and gold laners becoming the first picks, like Granger opener in blue, because that seems like a pre-playoffs, a pre-patch kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, he did use the Kimmy earlier.
Box is open.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like a blue opener, but I was thinking it would go in the red 1-2.
Yeah.
For Aurora later.
Like a full Vis Granger.
Yeah. All right, now there's Kalea. It's like everything. The way it's looking right now is like Aurora. It looks encouraged to pick their gold laner in the very first phase, get that Granger as soon as possible, that Marco doesn't end up with it. But it seems like Falcons are willing to give that up. Juicing for US, very strong. Always has been for Aurora, and I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to commit it here.
Would you box in? Would you box Jushin?
Yeah, or they have to consider the Granger as mentioned too. So,
Box Granger?
yeah,
Shoebox.
they'll have to let go of whatever they decide to go with. They're letting go of one of those three.
It's gotta be,
power
right?
picks.
Because
Yeah.
if not, like, what else would you be prioritizing?
It is
Shoebox?
the shoebox.
The shoebox. There it is. The box. Hey, just so we're clear, you get the funny name, I got the prediction right.
Yeah. You got the prediction, 100%.
But you got the funny name.
I'm just here for the branding.
So they let go of the Granger. That might go into Super Marco again this time if they decide to pick it up here. And that's been a very strong hero for Super Marco, you know? Like, he's got endless BPI rich guys because of getting the Granger.
Yeah, Granger's the last of the S-tier gold laners now, since Moskov and Harith are out. Does that make Aurora play 1-1?
You know, Falcons can even swerve and go on if they want to. I mean, I'm still leaning towards that they're going to be Granger.
That sounds kind of 5-head.
But the Jushin 1-1, we saw it recently too, right? So it might not be too far of a fetch for Aurora if ever they wanted to go that route. But they will consider the Hayabusa definitely, since it did appear
There's the Hayabusa.
in Team Falcon's lineup.
It looks like Aurora could set up for a very tanky front line, then just pick something like the carry for Domikite later on.
Yeah.
That's like one of his go-to pickups once the S-tier gold laners are gone. I mean, that and the Beatrix, but it's been so long since we've seen the Beatrix this season. It's been a while.
He's just not cutting it anymore.
Yeah, that's not cutting it. Kimmy is still open if they want to, considering that the Juicin might not be enough magic damage. But then up against the Hayabusa, the Kalea.
Or the Gatot. Oh my goodness!
There it is. Especially against the Kalea, this is such a great pick.
Yeah, you don't need to put a Purify in that one, it's already built in. And then you put the Purify onto Yue. Now, Ogun's going to be thinking about just committing the ultimate on the jungler, the roamer, the EXP laner. And if Aurora decides to build like super tanky in those slots, then Tsunami Slam isn't that going to be big ticket anymore.
And it's not as if Ogun is already struggling. There's a Baksha. Basically, half of your kit is useless.
Yeah.
And we don't know where the Boxer is going to.
Oh.
Like, it can be either the jungler right now for Demon Kite, it can be either the roam or the XP.
Angela's open. I'm just saying, folks. Angela's open.
Wait, what if we see the entire Baksha, CC, Angela kind of thing too?
Yeah, and in red, oh my God, I don't think Coach Trev would. He wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if that came through to him here in game 2.
Yeah, if that's going to be the case, then Few might either end up with a Selena or even a Faramis in his hands. Considering you don't have to worry about the Valentina anymore, there's already a Jushin on the other side. Aurora took away the Farsa. So Falcons might just be forced to lean into the close to mid-range playstyle, which a Faramis would be very suited for.
And I think the Faramis would do a good impersonation of an Angela lineup. It's like, we have extra life. You know, like, especially if you hard guard in, will pull whoever gets the buffs. it's doable, but they're not respecting it just yet. I don't think Coach Trev sees it
Yeah,
or
honestly,
even fears it.
even like the Florians, right? They've been rampant, like ranking.
Oh, rank games,
We
for
don't
sure.
see it here, of course. Definitely, this is a different level of playing field. But that's the idea we're looking at right now for like Aurora. They can go for a very sustaining lineup, out-sustaining the enemies, just doing that and buying enough time for the 1-1 to fly against the members of Aurora. But they fantasy themselves.
Ah, there it is. Coach Trev, you know, he knows. He's respecting it as if it was an absolute, like, there's even a 1% chance.
He wants to sleep tonight. And there goes Okay.
One of your best one-liners, Reno. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I do too, but you're not wrong.
I'd like to sleep too.
Okay, so we still do not have a pick for the XP lane, the Rome, and the... That's... Red 4, and we still don't know what the hell's going on with the Aurora's draft.
Where is this?
That's... Red 4, and we still don't know what the hell's going on.
Going.
Looks like we're seeing improv. One of the odd tendencies
Still don't know!
Or we don't know where the box is going, and I think that's what they're playing into. More of like, all right, this could either draft look super.
Yeah, Team Falcons, like where is it gonna come from this time?
What else is left? An Eve? No Eve's
There's
bad
a
now.
Eve, there's a Sicilian.
Selena.
Selena.
Yeah, they might just lean on the close to mid-range. Although I would prefer long range because again the 1-1 you need the safer answer for that.
Oh, you need just burst. Wonton burst.
Yeah.
Playing the Eve. Doesn't feel as bad as when he did back in Saudi.
Yeah. I think we've grown, we've changed from times like
We're past that.
Oh, time flies.
So we will finally find the answer here, no?
I'm not bothered by this. This is a decent Falcons draft.
That's a hell of a last pick by Aurora.
Okay. Confirmed that this is going to be an XP lane Baksha.
Whoa.
Well, we don't know. Maybe they pull us out for a swerve, but no, we know now what's in the jungle. It's a lane. I love how low to the ground Aurora's draft is. Economically speaking, you know where the money is.
It's a Ling. Demon Kite on the Ling once again.
This is an old flame, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Yes.
And he knows exactly what he's getting himself into.
Joseph, hold it in. This is a great job by both sides, especially with the trip that Aurora have taken us on down memory lane all throughout today's metagame. And yes, confirmed it is an XP lane Baksha and a Rome Khalid. Asking me who I favor, I think I like Falcons.
Okay, there you get your answer. And we heard him giggling. I know. Nice to sound so excited for this. So go on, take it away.
I don't know if I'd call that a giggle. Bring it up. That was pure excitement to see exactly what's going to happen here in the jungle. Demon Kai on the Ling. And I know we're ready to see if they can even out the series. Is it going to be Aurora or Falcons already? After game one, Cinema. Oh my goodness!
Early post there. Ogwin, one more hit. He was able to cast the Lantern Flare. Ogwin had to flicker out, so that's too close for the two roamers.
You know, after a really great first movie, then they announced the second movie, then the second movie just starts with action right away. That's what that felt like.
He like jumped right into the movie and just, you're in the middle of the plot.
You're like, what's going on? It's like, it has the lock-in basic attack from the Kaleo, of course, followed Reggie all the way there. And of course with Yua dragging Ogun at the same time, that's wild.
Yeah, then they go 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Clutch quick Sandguard there from Renegade. To outside damage from Kyle. Ogwin jumps in onto Dominkite. One more hit, two more hits away, and Dominkite gets away.
I'm so surprised what we're seeing. Like this matchup specifically, I think is the most action-packed.
Yeah.
It has to be so far through the playoffs.
Yeah, considering the fact that they're considered to be textbook, systematic, I think both teams came in thinking that the other team is textbook, so we have to be aggressive. We have to think outside the box, and that's what both of these teams are doing now.
Yeah, they both thought the same way.
Yeah.
They were just like, Are we gonna go fundamental? Nah, let's just go all action. This is where we find ourselves now. I mean, there's no kills yet, but there have been substantial trades, especially with the rotations of the roamers and the mid laners being read by the other. So far, the Falcons have been doing the slightly better reading, as Renegade and Yue haven't really been able to make the most out of their tandem together yet.
Blackbeard has to ask help from Ogwin there because Edward already popped his Revitalize as Renegade pops in also to help Edward defend. And now if you're going to look at the lineup so far in the mid lane and the gold lane, so it looks like Team Falcons has an easier time, but the X factor for Aurora remains to be the most consistent person, Edward, because so far Baksha has been quite tanky, and now he jumps in even. You would be able to deliver the Lantern Flare in the first blood drawn onto Flapteezy, but they're still going on. Ogwin has his eyes on Renegade, and Kyle Teasy goes in with a Wiki Shadow Kill. Ogwin drops Demon Kite with the ultimate as Yue just popping the Lantern Flare to delay the charge. Team Falcons, but Owen jumps in again and gives the kill in a few.
And Falcons will get some more on top of the objective.
And it really looked like Falcons being able to gank Edward meant that Revitalize was already spent. If they had that Revitalize, then Aurora would have won that sequence because they played it so well. But they just needed that extra bit of healing, extra bit of time to go through, but they just did not have it.
They didn't, I mean, at that point, for Aurora specifically, you know you're going to have to give some time to Demon Kite to get online here, and you're going to be utilizing the time to also get Dome and Kite. This is a big game for the Kite brothers, I feel like, specifically, just because of how important both the heroes that they're playing are going to be. At some point, if they fall too far behind, which is already kind of started, then you're forced to put Demon Kite somewhere across the map, maybe trying to fight for his own buffs even, and protecting him and hoping. Oh, hold on.
Shadow Kill, okay, good. Force out the Crimson Beacon early on from Yue, but a couple more hits away, Yue's gone from Kyle TC.
Oh, look at this pressure. This is what's going to happen, though. If that lead continues to build, you put pressure on Demon Kite. But the Wan specifically, this has been popping up quite often throughout the playoffs even. And, you know, it's performed, I would say, so-so, depending on the teams that did draft it. But as long as Dome and Kite can go ahead and just focus on farming up and then get the space that he needs to eventually get the crossbow of Tangs off later for the fights, that's going to be crucial here. But I feel like, too, at the same time, you have to watch out, man. Super Marco has been locked in, especially from last game.
Yeah, for sure, Team Falcons is aware of the fact that Dome and Kite can turn things around with one crossbow of time. That's why Team Falcons is rushing and holding on to the lead that they have, especially after the third turtle. They need to be able to break the mid lane turret and put a lot of pressure in Demon Kite's jungle.
All right, what's it?
Edward, shield unity there. Demon Kite jumps in also as Flapteezy continuing with the Infernal Pursuit. Pop the Revitalized Renegade with a beautiful cast of the ultimate. Demon Kite joining the picture now. RWM casted down by few. Tempest of plays coming in from Demon Kite, but Flapteezy, the first man down. No casualties for the Northern Lights.
Oh, see, with the Revitalize on the side of Aurora, it looks good for them in the team fight. But at the end of the day, Falcons is still going to hold on long enough to get the turtle for themselves. Few holding onto that real world manipulation so well. Count easy will shadow out after threatening.
So they're building up on the gold, especially Super Marco farming well. Domikai's doing a good job though, and that's why I said most of the time he's gonna continue. Edward could be in trouble. He is tanky.
Oh, the Jump Brothers have opened and Flapteezy going after Edward. A weak shadow kill casted down. Shield unity is there. They almost stunned out Kyle Teasy, but still no casualties for both.
Okay. All right.